Are you ready to quit your job? You just totally had it up to here. Your side business is starting to make a little bit of money. Or maybe it's not making money, but it's starting to get a little bit of traffic. And you got people telling you that it's a really good idea and you're ready to take that leap. There's nothing wrong with that. But wait, on this week, Motivation and Confidence, we're going to tell you 3 things not to do when you're quitting your job. Stay tuned. All right, everybody worldwide, you're now tuned into Motivation and Confidence, where we help you do your daily best. And I'm your host, Tom Danger. Back this week with a new episode. And thank you so much for tuning in. Whether or not you're looking at this online or listening to it through the podcast, we appreciate you tuning in. Please let us know that you're out there. I'm looking for 10 likes. 10 likes. If you're listening right now, please click on that like button. If you're looking at it on Instagram, hit that heart. If you're looking at it on YouTube, hit that thumbs up, Facebook, all that good stuff. Like, subscribe, share, and we definitely appreciate you hanging in with us for the ride. We are at episode number, if I could speak properly, episode number 83, because we just dropped an exclusive archive interview talking about the passion in music with DJ Quick and Corrupt when they were releasing an album project called Blackout. Was it called Blackout? I think it was called Blackout, some time ago. And when DJ Quick spoke about the first time that he heard a record by Quincy Jones called Body Heat and what it made him feel at 9 years old, he said he felt like having sex and he never had sex before, but that record did something to him. And I was like, wow. That's a lot of passion right there. If you feel like that, like if you feel something that you never felt before, but you don't automatically equate it with vagina, that's pretty powerful. One of the most powerful things, if not the most powerful source on this planet is from a woman. But that's a whole nother podcast. We'll get into that soon. But in this week, episode number 83, we're going to talk about, what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about 3 things not to do when you quit your job, but if you're thinking about quitting your job. I've been down this road 3 times. I've successfully and unsuccessfully done it 2 times already. So I am speaking from my own personal experience. Ultimately, as listeners and viewers, you know what is right for you. So if you quit your job and, things don't go right, don't say, Tommy, I heard you talk about this on your podcast. And nope, this is merely my story that I'm sharing. So I'm working at this one company and I was a project manager for hotels, construction, and what they call OS&E, operating supplies and equipment, and FF&E, furniture, fixtures, and equipment. But my specialty was OS&E. And I got this job through a friend, and it was right after I told you guys I was working at the first store, so then I switched over to this main gig because my side hustles dried up, and I was at a loss. I didn't know what to do. I know I wanted to do music, but I didn't have my plan the way I wanted to execute it. So I went back to work. And this gig started out really slow. So it was come to work, get my project. I had like one project, source it, talk to the project manager of the owner for the hotel, and that was it. It was so slow in the beginning that I would actually doze off at my desk or try to stay awake. I wouldn't doze off, but I would feel myself physically getting sleepy like around 2 p.m. to stay awake during the day. So I said, man, this is kind of rough. So I told my dad, and he's like, look, you better enjoy them days because it won't always be like that. Man, was he right. 3 months later, I was slammed with probably 6 projects. I had owners reps that were extremely demanding. I had one of 2 bosses that was just so crazy that he would literally fire someone every Friday. He would wait till after payday on Friday, walk to your office after you have lunch, after you've already cashed a check. You're sitting there feeling good on Friday and tell you get your stuff, get out. To the point to where every Friday when he came down the hallway, all of us would wonder who's going to be next, because sometime it was just for no rhyme or reason. And I felt like I was stuck. I felt like I was stuck because, I had left one job and things had gotten tight financially. So I didn't want to put my family back in that strain again. So I'm sitting there. I'm like, please, God, let me find another job. Please, just let me find another job. And I would sit there and I would ask God every day to take me away from that job. And for whatever reason, I wound up staying there for almost 2 years. And what I did do before I left that job was I had already set up another job with a competitor. And knowing this particular company's or this particular boss's style of firing people, I didn't want to give my 2 weeks notice and then he absolutely made it hell for me in those last final days. So I waited till a Friday. I didn't show up to work on time. I came in around lunchtime and I said, look, I'd like to give my resignation. And he looked at me like, well, what's the matter? I said, nothing. He said, how much time you giving me? I said, now. And I turned around and I walked out and he said, you'll never get a good, he said, he said, you'll never get a good recommendation from me, young man. And that was I was thinking, even if I left on good terms, I think he was such a shady cat that he would still say like some crazy stuff about me. But that was one time I left a gig and I honestly wish that I didn't leave that way, even looking back at it, because it wasn't professional. It wasn't the right thing to do. I wound up going to the competitor company and I was just as miserable. I was miserable in that line of work. And I knew that unless I took a leap to a certain extent or devoted time toward my passion, I would wind up back in this space once again, which is why I'm sharing my story. So hopefully you're not in that space. It's 3 things not to do when you quit your job. And we're going to start with the first thing. The first thing is the most important thing, and that is you need to have some money stashed. If you're thinking about jumping ship, make sure you got a couple of dollars stashed. Now, you hear people will say a lot of times that even when you're currently employed, you should save up at least 3 months worth of paychecks so that you can sustain in case you get fired or something happens. If that job doesn't pan out, you need to have some money to keep you afloat. And some people round about that figure at 3 months. From some statistical information, I know that some of my listeners are coming from pretty much well-off backgrounds, which is cool. But even when you come from a well-off background, that means at times you have more disposable income. So you may not be that much into saving the way you should, because, you always have that big paycheck coming in once a month or every other week. So you need to make sure that you stash your cash before you dash. How about that? Stash your cash before you dash. You want to make sure that you put some money in a stash. If you are investing or saving in your 401k, you will not get all the money that you've invested, but it is a source of money if you absolutely need to. Some people will tell you, like, you should not do that. You should never touch your money. I did it once, and when I did it, it was probably one of the best things that I did, because I only had invested for about 5 years, and in doing so, I managed to save up, a little bit of money. So I think we were able to sustain, for a minute. We were good for about a good 3 to 6 months. Definitely good 3 months. And then we wind up just dropping a lot of it on some home repairs, right? Which is where most of it went to. You're my audience, so it's okay. I'm not talking to myself, right? So yeah, we spent a lot of the money there. But to supplement it, I wound up getting a part-time job just to keep some money coming in until I figured, some things out. But you always want to have some money stashed. And if you don't have money stashed, whatever you're looking at getting into, because this is very generic right now, you're better off having an alternate source of income. In my case, in addition to stashing some money, it was also having that side job, which was a part-time job. It was very cushiony. I mean, man, I was on cloud nine for a good year. It was all good. And I probably would have stayed that way. I think that side gig, they wound up like getting rid of it. That's what it was. So they got rid of that side gig, and it was pretty cool because it was no stress. It was real light. It was 3 to 7 working in the high-end first store and just chilling at security, getting paid like, excuse me, it was all right. It was good for doing nothing. And I was able to work on my passion, and then reality kicked in, and yeah, life goes on. So, seeing that. The second thing that you do not want to do when you are thinking about or quitting your job is not have a conversation with your partner or your family, because this is a huge financial burden to someone, whether it be yourself, on your family, on your wife, on your girlfriend, like I said, on your significant other. Somebody has to make sure that the money is coming in, or minimally, you want to make sure that the lifestyle that you guys have determined to have, that somehow you're going to be able to sustain, or you have to think about the adjustments that you're going to need to make in order to get from plan A to plan B. This is not, what I'm talking about is not the solution of, I'm tired of this job. I just want to jump ship because I'm frustrated at my boss this week, or I'm frustrated with my coworker. If you're in that particular situation, you need to assess whether or not the job that you're in is the right job for you. I'm speaking more along the lines of those who are looking at a passion or hobby that they're trying to figure out how to monetize it, and, the steps that they should take before they take that leap. Like, a lot of people just say, take that leap and figure it out. You're right. And that may be true. But at the same time, you have to apply a little bit of common sense. And a little bit of common sense is that if you have a wife and kids, while you're figuring it out, minimally, you have to make sure that you can keep food on the table and a roof over your head. My wife may not like to hear this, but, if the credit cards go to shit, we could always fix it at some point in time, right? Because your credit is going to peaks and valleys. It goes ups and downs. So you could always fix that. But you want to make sure that you have food on the table and a roof over your head, and that you can take care of your responsibilities. Now, if you're lucky enough to be alone, hey, even better. You can just tank everything, go for broke. But I'm pretty sure your family would still like to hear about what you're going on if you're planning to crash on somebody's couch or hit them up for money from time to time. So you definitely want to make sure that you communicate with your family, friends, or loved ones, because otherwise, recipe for a disaster. And the third and most important thing not to do when you quit your job is to tell your boss to kiss your ass. Okay? Do not do that as much as you would like to do it, even if it is like a job that you absolutely despise. I always feel as if you are working toward your next whatever, right? So if you're in a current role and you do your best, somehow that best or that daily act that you do is going to be questioned when you go into your next role. So if you ever need to get another job, the first thing that an employee is going to do to verify your trustworthiness or your skill set is contact that previous employer. Now, by law, the previous employer can't say, the reason why. You can say, they left for personal reasons, even if you were a pretty crappy employee, but you don't want to shut that door to where you're just leaving on not so good terms, because then you're basically shutting the door for your next opportunity. And it's not good karma. You know, like you put that type of energy out there, and somehow it's going to come back to you. So if you're planning to leave, you resign within the guidelines of the company, unless it's something very hostile. You know, if you give your 2 weeks notice or 30 days notice, whatever that is, you want to make sure that you give your notice. And even if your current employer may not agree with your decision, you followed company policy and you've done what you needed to do. And now the fun part is figuring it out. And if you haven't figured it out, while you're working, start to map out what it is that you really want to do. You know, so many times we hear people who work now and they're in their current jobs and they're not happy and they're not doing what they're supposed to do. You know, when you listen to Motivation and Confidence and you hear different things like this, it's to help you create a framework for what it is that you want to do. You know, like I have a very strong mantra of, if I'm not dedicating a certain percentage of what I love to do on a daily basis, I have no one to blame but me. Right? So when I go to work in the morning, and if it's like a crappy day, it's partially my fault because I haven't donated time to my craft, my side businesses, my passions, to helping others. And again, podcasting is part of my passion. I love talking to you guys. You know, we're always open to ideas, guests being on the show. So feel free to leave a comment or send us an email to tommydanger@gmail.com and let us know what you think. Always like, subscribe, and share. This is Motivation and Confidence, where we help you do your daily best. Thank you for tuning into Motivation and Confidence, where we help you do your daily best. Like, subscribe, or leave a comment. Check us out on various platforms: Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Play, Overcast, Castbox, SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes, TuneIn, or Alexa Media. Motivation and Confidence, Volume 1, How to Start Your Ideas. Tommy Danger, Now Living Man. So we have this concept of a ebook with a soundtrack, right? And I thought it was really cool because Motivation and Confidence comes from the podcast that we deliver on a weekly basis. It talks about everyday topics in life and how you could basically strategize and deal with different challenges that you may have.